Hi, this is Doug Morrison. Welcome to this episode of Teach for Effect with more tips on how you can be a better teacher, trainer, or instructor. In this episode, we're going to continue with our look at the use of questions in teaching. By way of review, in the last episode, we looked at how questions can aid in your teaching. First, they promote thought. Your students will be more involved and will remember better if they think things through for themselves rather than simply being lectured to. Number 2, questions arouse and maintain the interest of your students. Number 3, they can guide the thoughts of your students, as if you were leaving a trail for them to follow in order for them to discover the truth of your lesson all by themselves. And finally, number 4, questions evaluate both the student's learning and your teaching. Now, if questions are going to accomplish all that, then you have to make sure you ask good ones. Here are some of the key qualities of the kinds of questions that will help you out as a teacher. First, your questions must be easily understood. Use simple, straightforward language. Make your questions as brief as possible, but complete enough that there's no confusion as to exactly what you are asking. For example, if you ask, "What does Canada export?" you aren't asking a clear question. Really, you're playing a game that I call, "Guess what I'm thinking?" Number 2, use common language. Remember, you're trying to measure their knowledge or guide their thought, not test their ability to use language. If you use a lot of fancy language or technical terms, you're more likely trying to impress than teach. If they don't even understand what you're asking, what good is your question? Keep your vocabulary within the range of your students' knowledge. An example I saw once was, explain the cognitive measurement of consumer criteria for manufacturer parameter values in biscuit texture. What the question really meant was, how does the texture of a cookie affect how much people like eating it? Number 3, make sure your question promotes thought. Don't just ask true-false questions that give them a 50% chance of guessing correctly. Make them think. If you do ask a simple question that merely tests their recall or their ability to guess correctly, immediately follow it up with a how or a why question to test their reasoning and their understanding. For example, when I taught what to do if an engine fails in mid-flight, I'd ask my students to recite the 7 steps they were to follow, since it was a good idea for them to have those steps memorized. But then I'd ask them why we did the steps in that order, to make sure they understood exactly what to do and why. That way they were more likely to remember it correctly. Number 4, make sure to think about the questions you're asking. Don't just make up questions about your lesson at random. Specifically ask questions around your main and important teaching points. You could also ask how what they've learned could be applied in their lives. A well thought out, carefully worded question can be one of the most powerful teaching aids at your disposal. So take the time to master the art of asking questions in your teaching. Now please, if you have your own favorite teaching tips, or if you found something useful in this video, please leave a comment below. If you found this video helpful, then please help me to keep producing this kind of content by liking, sharing, and subscribing. And when you subscribe, make sure to hit that notification button so that you'll be sure to know when the new videos come out. If you'd like to see more videos with helpful teaching tips, then check out the links posted below. If you teach something your students really need to learn, then check out my course, Teach for Effect. You see, that's the situation I was in when I was a flight instructor. 80% of my students had to pass their flight tests on the first try, or I'd lose my privileges as an instructor. In fact, records were kept of every student I trained, so any deficiencies in my teaching meant I'd be tested on how I taught those skills. I've compiled the course from what I learned through 40 years of teaching experience, having taught everything from Sunday school to commercial aviation in North America and overseas. Teach for Effect can be taught both in groups and one-on-one. If you prefer, it's also available as an online self-paced course that comes complete with a workbook and homework assignments that will help you to apply what you learn in your lessons. Check it out in the link posted below the video. See you next time, and in the meantime, keep on teaching effectively.